going on, yo? It's your man, DJ Mr. Bird. And welcome to this very special Codex Show. I got my co-host, Victor Vader. And, of course, you already know, if we're at Culture Fest, we got to have the homie, the ace, Bad Lad in the building. What's happening?
I don't know if you have to have me, but you got me, and I'm happy to be here. That's what's up.
Listen, yo, Culture Fest has just been fire since yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Alchemy was dope last night. You know,
yeah.
Man, like just DJs after DJs, performances, and I just been blessed to be a part of it all. You know, I'm taking a break, having a mix going, you know, from the ones and twos today. And, of course, we got the Bad Lad and Friends comedy show tonight. Let us know what it's about.
Well, it's just an extension of this beautiful Culture Fest, this what seems to be a version and response to, like, community first. You know what I mean?
Right.
This right on the heels of Juneteenth. So this, you know, and these are all powered by our people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And not by people of color. I mean BIPOC. I mean by people of color. Like, honestly, front to back is when you look at the very top of it, where it's housed, who owns the housing, the vendors. It's all people that look and represent us with no. I'll be a political user without any corporate interference.
Right.
We'll use that, right? We'll use corporate. So it's cool to just see and prove to everybody that they're black people in Providence. Right? Let's just shorten it, like, because that's the thing I was and I've been trying to echo that as much as possible. The running joke for people in Rhode Island is, you have black people in Rhode Island, and it's like.
Man.
And all this shows is not only do we have them, but we're doper than a lot of metropolitans. Like, honestly, I feel, you know, and this is for this inaugural outing to garner such a response.
Yep.
How can you be mad at that?
Exactly. And you was right about, like, black people in Rhode Island. I'm like, listen, especially in Providence. When you meet one of the old folks, one of the first things, hi, how you doing?
Sure.
What's your name? And then they always follow up with, who's your people?
Right.
Who's your family? You tell them, they know somebody.
Yeah.
And it's the ignorance, and I don't mean ignorance maliciously, it just in the definition sense of lack of knowledge of.
Right.
I mean, and the average person not knowing about Rhode Island, just as a whole, right? Because all anybody knows about Rhode Island is we're the smallest state in the country. But what everybody refuses to understand is that we're one of the biggest per capita.
Right.
So there's a bunch of us in a tiny spot. And we all know that because we're on top of each other for the most part. But because of that, yes, why wouldn't, in a small spot with all these people, why wouldn't the black community know each other?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it is. And it's one of the last tenets to the village. Being able to have, who's your people, boy? And then be able to make that connection in 2 or 3 moves. And to see that on display in places like this, and Juneteenth, and Emancipation Day, and Culture Shock, shout out to Chachi. Like, these are all festivals. The sound session, you know, it's not here anymore, but sound session. These are festivals that were started, powered, and nurtured by us, you know what I mean, and really left a mark on our community as not just from a political standpoint, but from a culture standpoint, from an artistic standpoint. We have art here, we have culture here, we have whatever it is that you go to those big metropolitan areas to find. We have them here as well. And we have great artists here, and from every facet. You know what I mean? I'm just not saying hip hop, like from all facets. There's great dining here. Like, it's a small spot, but give it a chance. And folks are really, I think, things like this are how we showcase it and draw them folks in.
Right. So, okay, now you mentioned, we already know you the hip hop aficionado. All right, one of the biggest ones I know.
Yeah, apparently I pissed some folks off this year, bro.
Yeah, you did.
That's not a me problem. That's a them problem. That's not a me problem at all. I wasn't wrong. Your opinion, nobody's opinion's wrong. It's an opinion.
Thank you. And that's hard because, like, I watched it.
Sure.
And I look at it as, I'm like, all right, I'm part of a podcast. we differ, especially just between Vic and I.
Right.
Yeah.
We differ from damn near everything.
Mm-hmm.
But it's his business. It's his opinion. It's my opinion. If I can persuade him, cool. If you can persuade me, cool. If not, cool.
But in a conversation, that's the beauty of it.
The
beauty is in the contrast. The beauty is in the debate. If you both agree on everything, nobody's listening to y'all.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like the tournament, the sitcom tournament.
Oh yeah.
We went ham on that. We went ham, bro. We
did like 3 hours.
We did like 3 hours of that, and we could have went longer. We could have went longer.
Yeah.
No, like honestly, we could have went. That could have went way longer, right?
Oh yeah. And then like at the end of that that whole tournament, it boiled down to Fresh Prince and Living Single.
Right.
And it could have easily been a tie, but then we kept going, and even with the final winner, which was Living Single, we could have kept going even more.
Right. And that was just one thing, you know what I mean? So, and it was all because everybody died on their hill. That was the cool part about it. Everybody died on their hill, was willing to die on their hill.
And I'm still on my Fresh Prince.
Right. But that's what makes debates, you know, that's the art and entertainment of debates. Yeah. And you know, I'm speaking about this with y'all because I love y'all. Like, I'm over this. I'm past this.
Right.
But I rock with y'all. So, like, I will definitely speak on it. And I will say this. Let's forget, right? Mm-hmm. This was a list of my personal faves, right? Not even favorites, because my favorites are actually different. My favorite DJs are not GOAT DJs, not my GOAT list, right? But what I never said and what was never implied in this, because it's not implied, is your omission from my list doesn't make you trash. It's not. That's not how that works. They're not mutually exclusive. That's not how any of that works. Mm-hmm. I could honestly do a 50 list. Mm-hmm. I've been around this game long enough where I could do a top 10, 50 Rhode Island DJ list. But I only had 10 seats.
Right. But here's the thing as well was you set a criteria at the beginning. You was like, all right, these are cats who's been in like for 30 years. 30 plus.
30 plus, and they're not done. It's to me, and because right, he asks me 10 minutes before we go on the air. Hey, you want to do a top 10 Rhode Island DJ list? Wow, really? In 10 minutes? Fuck it, challenge accepted. Right? All right, let's go. And it's because in that moment, what I said to myself was, all right, Tom Brady rule. Right? Because Tom Brady, you can argue. Right now, you can argue that Tom Brady is not the best quarterback in the league. But he is among the best in the league. No,
you're right.
And at one point, he was the best in the league. And he continues to compete and perform at an elite level over a long period of time. So there's a lot of folks that are whining because they got 15 years in. And salute to your 15 years. I'm not mad at you. But 15 years ago, these guys were still made men. Made men. And every one of them, I took impact points into consideration. Right? Because Mike Nice was one of them, and Mike Nice is not among active players. You don't see him in the clubs. You don't see a lot of, but his impact points loomed heaviest of everyone on my list. His impact points were the 99. He was the only one with the 99 impact points because of what he did for the blend game. Right. In regards to Rhode Island and what he did to the blend lane ski. He is the reason why we have a blend culture. That is not up for debate. Right. That is not up for debate. Everything else we can chew the fat all day, but that is not up for debate. He brought blend culture to a level where we, as listeners, purchased his. We were on the lookout for his drops before albums. You know what I mean? Like you had to be like a Nas or. You know, you had to be like a top 5 player with an album dropping for us to want to know when that release date is, as opposed to a Mike Nice Chronic Blend 4. And he's got Chronic Blends, Smoked Out. He's got like 4 different brands of mixtapes, like, you know, volumes. Yeah. And each one of them, I think, are like 30 to 40 each. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
that's
right. And at one point, he set the bar real high by incorporating 8 beats per acapella, 8 beats per mix. I'm gonna blend this acapella with 8 different beats. And so it wasn't like Alexander Graham Bell, right? He made the phone and look something like this. Like he built and built and built on it and really improved and set a certain criteria that once the next person came on, they had to do better than the groundbreaking moves he had already made with a really new subgenre of the culture, right? So it's like, fuck, that's crazy. That's crazy. We're having a blend competition now.
Yes.
We have Mike Nice to thank for that. That's what I mean by impact points. That's an impact that resonates 30 years later, 32 years, 35, damn near 40 years later.
right.
Fuck you. That's major.
Yeah.
And if you can't see past that, we shouldn't debate.
Right.
We shouldn't.
So speaking of lists, and I want to shout out to my homie Dan the Mayor for this one. So, and I brought this to your attention. You couldn't even do it.
What's that?
Yo, who would you list as your top 5 Legends bracket of MCs?
That's tough. That is tough because you lead because oh man, like
Like he hit me so hard with that. I'm just like, damn. I'm like, this is my man from New York. I gotta do it. But I'm like, it depends on your mood.
it really does.
Yeah.
It really truly does because I don't have a set mood for any length of time.
Right.
My moods are always switching. You know what I mean? As creatives, we do, right? We're constantly thinking about the next thing and how to improve the thing we got, right?
Yeah.
So it's tough, but I'll try. This is unofficial. Like you'll post it, but if they ask me, I'll deny it. But I don't know. So legendary for me as an MC.
Right.
Right, so where I'm going to go, it is going to be folks that have heavy lyrical content. I will definitely try to back them with some other attributes that I feel are important, but Rakim, we're going to start
Number
with
one.
Rakim.
Number one. I think he's
God
just
MC.
universal number one.
He is able to do and convey so many different pockets of emceeing just by sheer mastery of the English language. Like it is phenomenal how many words he knows and knows how to manipulate them in such a fashion. He is an underrated storyteller, very underrated storyteller. We were listening because it's funny. I wanted to speak upon this because we was having this Rakim discussion a couple of days ago with a couple of my friends, and we was listening to Juice. Juice is extremely gangster. I never really sat and immersed myself into every bar, but man, it is very gangster, and it's a story about the rise and fall of a gangster, right? As it should be, but again, story, right? And just follow the leader. What would you say if the Earth gets further and further away? Planets will form us now small balls of clay, stray into the Milky Way. Words out of sight. As far as the eye can see, not even a satellite. Now, stop to turn around and look. When you stare in the darkness, your knowledge is took. But keep staring. Soon you suddenly see a star. You better follow it, because it's the R. Like,
Yeah.
what in the absolute fuck is that?
Like,
And that's from 1991, 2.
Now, late,
golden era. Yeah,
late
golden
80s.
era.
Yeah.
Never mind golden era, just the sheer
Like-
fact that it's shelf life.
Yes.
Yeah.
He could have wrote that now.
And it will still be fine.
Yeah.
Fire. I like severe fire. Like you know what I mean? Not like, whoa, that's dope for an old man. Like, no. That's dope. Like, what a picture. What a picture. You know what I mean? And you didn't hear nothing about what's considered to be standard, right? Or dope, right? Just merely just painted a picture about the knowledge inside of him and how he's able to convey it. Like, kidding me? This man is, to me, the standard. He personally, he is why him and DMC were the reason I wrote. DMC was the first person to really speak to me with like, wow, he really can rhyme. He really is really a lyricist, right? Run was the showman. Run was the, and not any less of an MC, but he was the one that made Run DMC larger than life.
Right.
His swagger, the way he moved on stage, the way he used to throw the mic stand,
his presence.
Right, his presence. So, but D was the one that was like, you know what, I don't have all that, so I'm just gonna give you these bars. And him, LL, Rakim, those were like the first three people that made me run back to the lab and go, I gotta do better. I gotta do better. And it's possible to do better because these guys are amazing at what they do, right? So Rakim.
Yeah.
G-Rap.
Cool G-Rap?
Cool G-Rap. Cool G-Rap just dropped an album. Cool G-Rap has dropped an album with Griselda's 38 Special. He is he stays active. He stayed like, this isn't the first album he's dropped in years. This is probably maybe years, but maybe like 2 years. His discography continues to go. He is a gangster rapper, right? That is his niche, and that's fine. I'm here for it. But again, another one of them who is at an elite level and rhymes every bit as good. All right, if that's what that standard is, gunplay and sex, drugs, money, and murder, God damn, that dude does it well. Wow, does he do it well. And he's knocking on 60. Like, screw you with Rap's a young man's game. Like, and my list is probably going to look very old. But it speaks to being able to go to test of time. I'm not talking record sales.
No.
You know what I mean? I'm talking about if I'm bringing 5 MCs to a gunfight, I want to make sure I got a soldier for every occasion, right? So Rakim, G-Rap, and G-Rap was one of them ones who, along with Kane, Rakim, started putting those rhymes in the second down beat on the 2 as opposed to the 4 or the 1 or the 3 or breaking up a multi-syllabic word to make it rhyme. Like, those are them dudes that pushed the culture forward and took it from that to, all right, now you need to have a little more. You know what I mean? To go a little more current, but not so more current, Method Man.
I'm not even knocking that one.
Same reason as Rakim, he's another one who just mastered the English language to me.
I'm not mad at it.
He's and he's more user friendly to me, where Rakim is just the Professor X of words. This dude is a little more. He does the comic book name drops. He takes a lot. The way he interweaves pop culture into his stuff. You know what I mean? With the first METHOMETA, hey, you get off. There's a lot of like kids songs in there, and like just he incorporates a lot of I don't know, like just pop culture in a way that it's not pop culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's if that's the best way to put it. Yeah. But he is an absolute demon with words. He's an absolute his flow, his just Clifford Smith is just a problem. He's just a goddamn problem, and he's my favorite member out the Wu. And you can make the argument that his albums don't have the critical acclaim that they should to support the claim, but I very rarely hear him whack, if at all. So
Bulletproof Love, what he did for Luke Cage.
Oh yeah,
the Riddler for Batman.
He did do that. The Monstars from Space Jam.
Right. you understand what I'm saying? So I think he gets whimsy points for me. Maybe that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Tariq Trotter, Black Thought.
Yeah.
The Second Coming.
Yeah, let's
say
talk,
what you want.
You know what?
Let's talk about Black Thought. Black Thought should be in anyone's top 5 or top 10 at the very most, because you listen to any of the Roots albums, like from Philadelphia, Half-Life, Things Fall Apart, even to like their stuff on Def Jam, Game Theory, Rising Down, and my favorite one, How I Got Over.
Do You Want More? That early stuff, Organics,
like
when it was the Square Roots. That was it, because they started it. Their first album wasn't on Geffen. It was an independent label, and they were living in London. And that was that Square Roots Organics, that was their turning point of whether they was going to continue to even do this.
Yeah.
And then it didn't get critical acclaim, but it was enough for them to go, all right, we can do this. And then we got Do You Want More with I Shall Proceed and all that stuff.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, but Tariq Trotter is an alien. He's a robot. He's not of this earth.
Not whack. I never heard nothing whack from him.
No, like he's
nothing.
He's one of the most, if not arguably the most consistent MC in the history of the genre. Like I have never heard like a Roots song or like a Black Thought song and be like, that was kind of but no.
And know what's funny? He's had a conversation with Jay-Z, and Jay-Z told him the curse of Tariq, what I consider to be the curse of Tariq Trotter, where nobody calls him for features. But they don't call him because
he's gonna get overshadowed by this.
Like, and he doesn't dumb down. That's what I love about him. He doesn't dumb down. You're either gonna get my shit or you're not, and I don't care, right? And that is why I love, side footnote, De La so much. De La to me is the greatest group of all time. They are my number one greatest group of all time. I will die on that hill. That's a whole nother podcast. But because they're unapologetic about who they are. These are our bars. Like them or hate them. Get them or not. Because as an MC, what always grinds me like the wrong way is when I hear MC go, get it? Like spit some shit and go, get it? Shut up. Next bar, please. Like next bar. Like that always bothered me with Big when he if Faith had twins, she probably have two pops. Get it? Two. But yeah, I got it. It wasn't funny the first time. Like we got it. And if we didn't get it, like, oh well, bro. Yeah. Oh well. And to me, like, I don't like the fact that your favorite rappers have to dumb themselves down in order for appeal points. Jay. And because he doesn't, right. Jay, and I love Jay. Jay's the fifth. Jay's the fifth. Because you say what you want about Jay, but my God, he's Jay. He's hard to beat. You know what I mean? But Black Thought ranks fave-wise the highest on my list. Because like you said, he just, whether you like the song or not, if you just take the bars in a vacuum, if you take the bars away from it, my God, it's always, it's never whack. It's never whack. Like never whack. Like how you never whack? Like never.
Like not even fall off. Not even off his game. And even if he was off his game, it's like, yo, that shit was dope.
Yo, when he made the double entendre about prisoners, if I'm talking from the Funk Flex freestyle, we like Henrietta Lacks all up in the cells, and I know, and I know I'm home being able to, I can receive that here. I can't talk about that line in certain circles, and my God, when I heard it, I fell off my chair, like whoa, bro. Like when you ooh and ah and you look for that cosign to the person that's listening, and there's somebody that you know don't get it, you're like, this is not fun.
And you can't have these conversations no more. I'm on my get off my lawn, type shit. But it's like, yo, can you really dissect a song the way you can, the way we used to?
That 11-minute freestyle is like our Dead Sea Scroll. Like he went from I'm sorry for your loss. There's a body at the morgue. It's probably one of yours. That is the opening bar. And 11 minutes later, like what do you say? I let my bars tell the story. Like fingerprints at a crime scene. I'm butchering it. But like that's the last bar, and everything in between it. Like every so often, I go back to it, just as a recharge. Just as like it's like I do the same thing with totally un-hip hop related. Prince's solo with everybody at the Tom Petty jam.
Yeah.
While my guitar gently weeps. And it's Eric Clapton. It's like all the heavy hitters. It's all the heavy hitters. And Prince goes last and absolutely destroys. Oh my God! It gives me so much life, and it always reminds me of Eric Clapton when they said that somebody asked Eric Clapton what it was like being the best guitarist in the world. He said I always ask Prince and he never tells me, so I don't know.
Bars.
Yeah.
Bars.
When Clapton.
And you know what? Recently, I needed a cleanse too. We're gonna switch to the R&B. Like, I watched the Omarion versus Mario versus. Look, I mean, those first 2 hours, which is already enough,
Bro.
I'm like, dog, like Sammy. Yeah, you're singing these songs. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this one, and then you're done.
So
Like they wasn't. Oh, I guess weren't really rocking with Sammy like that.
So another tool in the belt that will come with age, young Padawans,
Yeah.
is the ability to allow those moments to miss your life. I refuse. I didn't watch any of it. I did not watch
And you're
one fucking second. Because in those
blessed.
times, ignorance is
bliss.
Trust me. You'll get better at it.
I get some complaints about my DJs. Like, how come you don't play? How they're like, oh, you got any? What's his name? Vivio Foreign, something like that. I was like,
I'm not even talking about that.
Who?
I just knew. So let's go back to when they were hot, right?
okay,
Even at their prime, what they weren't considered were actual great singers.
no, they were entertaining acts.
Right. They weren't crooners, right? They were in the same vein as J-Lo, right?
Right.
And to a lesser extent, Janet Jackson, right?
Yeah.
They give you a great visual, an amazing visual, and great tunes to carry
The visual.
right?
Yeah.
But when also within that culture is, and because their lives have been right on Front Street for us via Love and Hip Hop, right?
Yeah.
They haven't been living the lifestyle they've been living. Told me everything I needed to know. That you're not treating your instrument correctly. You're not giving it the proper nurturing it deserves for a sustainable career, right? To come back 10 years later and jump on this Versus stage, and I'd like to think Swizz's and Timbaland's initial conversation and intellectual property that manifested itself into this wasn't that.
No.
They're expecting primo shit. Like this is your chance to get your sales up, right? Because this is what this is doing. This is bringing everybody who not relevant. It brings them a chance to get their revenue stream back up. Everybody's look what it did for the Locks. Look what it did for the Locks. Look what it did for everybody that preceded them. Meth and Red, they were fine already, but they did their thing. It went. Ghost and Ray and Ghost. It went. Gladys Knight and Patty. Like you understand, Isley's and Earth, Wind and Fire. Everybody got back on the road, and streams and actual streams went up. Meanwhile, you dudes.
I never heard the N word so much between like R&B.
You use it more than rappers, and we're half as entertaining. Like that's not fair.
It was so
That is
bad.
not
Like,
fair.
it was not fair. Like I'm watching this, I'm like, yo, this really was not for me. So I'm like, I was talking to my sister about it, and then she was like, listen, watch Usher's Tiny Desk.
Whoa, bro.
Yeah, man.
And she said it, and he was like, watch it. It's a cleanse.
Oh, it's a med pack. Screw you, a cleanse. That's a med pack. That is life, bro. It's a reminder, right? It's a reminder that we are not the total sum of these parts. You know what I mean? Like there's so much more to us, and we have allowed technology to erase the instrument. right? We grew up with crooners, bro. Like, we grew up with folks who would carry a note and send chills through your body that could evoke tears.
And that's why Mario won. That's why Mario won.
And that's why Omarion and Bobby V are going to be making money in the near future.
Yeah.
Because Bobby V wasn't Omarion, but he wasn't as bad as the rest of them.
Oh,
and he's a great, you know, entertainer because he can also play instruments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, like the rest of them dudes is like, because let's be honest, Ray J, you weren't the singer. You weren't the singer back then.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you are the talent pool runs shallow on your end. The deep end is Brandy.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear.
It's not even. It's
right?
It's just a fact.
Right. It's just a fact.
It's a fact.
We're not debating that. This is just that is math. That is math fact. That's finite.
Yeah, and also now that you mentioned Tiny Desk with Usher, like looking at that video in particular, really reminded me of how brilliant the format of that show is.
Yes.
Because it's all live instrumentation, and it actually shows you just how talented these vocalists are, and it's easy to kind of you enjoy their songs, but then it's like kind of dismiss them out of hand after a while. It's like, okay, they're a little overexposed. Like their songs, like I'm tired of hearing "You Remind Me" or all this. But then 25 years later, like when you see Usher singing live with all that instrumentation, it takes you back to that time and place where you first heard his music, and it's like, man,
right, and it's got that unplugged format. Like the MTV Unplugged used to have, but this whole the whole aesthetic, right? The whole aesthetic in somebody's office, right? But you're getting these. And I love that how they touched on every genre. Hey, but come on in. No matter who you are, you can. There's a home for you here, and to hear interpretations, like you said, of songs that you were pretty much over, right? For the most part, to hear them come and being delivered in this format. Oh, it's super dope. And I became a fan of certain artists as a result. You know what I mean?
Vito and Eric Bellinger.
Right. Eric Bellinger for sure. Because I never, I always heard single here, and never really got a whole lot. And then to sit there and watch him, I was like, whoa, this dude is, you know what I mean? Mac Miller's Tiny Desk is bananas, bro. Oh, yeah.
It was very good.
It was real dope. He made me go back and check. You know what I mean? Like I got on him late. Right. You know what I mean? Not so late, but late enough. Yeah. And then, but the Tiny Desk concert, he had tracks in there that made me go back and like, wow. You know what I mean? So, watching seeing Usher on that was dope. And again, like everybody to anybody that thinks Chris Brown versus Usher is a wash. Fuck out of here.
Oh, it was just Usher won. Huh? Usher will win that one.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna lean one way or the other, but the general consensus on my timeline seems to be that Chris Brown will wash him.
Not at all.
Because I'm with you. I don't think Chris Brown will win. But even if you think he'll win, I'll buy into your premise. He's not gonna wash him. It's not gonna be a light scrimmage. You are going to have to fight for 20 rounds. That is going to be a hit for hit. And visual too, because that's the thing. This dude had a discography before we knew who you were, Chris Brown. Before Run It, because that was your introduction to the world. Before Run It, this dude was already a made man and had lived. Yeah. I think he had. That's when he had the old wife. He had the old wife.
He had T-Boz.
No. Chili.
Thank you. Now, moving on, you got the comedy show tonight.
Yes.
What can we expect?
You can expect some surprises in that gentleman hosting, my man Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath, what up?
I know you can't see him, but he just walked by. Fast rising, understands the game. He's just a creative. A creative. Like, he's one of them dudes that his mind is constantly cooking on ways to do new and exciting things, be it this, be it stage, be it jewelry. So, fun fact about him, when he decided to jump in the comedy arena, he came to me and he was like, yo, I'm thinking about getting in it. And I'm gonna share a secret, and I shouldn't, but a lot of people have come to me and have said, like, once they see me and they're like, you echo the sentiment, oh, I'm thinking about getting into it. And I have a stock response for most people. Oh, word, that's what's up, good luck. And I leave it alone. Because not everybody should be doing this.
Yeah.
But who am I? Right? He comes to me, yo, I'm thinking about getting it. I immediately sat him down and was like, look, here's what I think you should need to do. If you're looking for me for my advice, and we sat down and we had like a half-hour conversation. And the next time I saw him or going to perform, he was like, come check me out. Went to Comedy Connection on a Sunday, saw him, and it stuck. And it stuck. And I say that with my eyes raised because I had previous conversations with other younger comics jumping in and gave them the same spiel and got unfriended and got blocked. And I'm not sure why I didn't insult anybody. I just was like, hey, if you're looking for advice, if you're looking to hear advice, here's some advice. And they didn't receive it as the way he did. And because I already knew he had the raw talent. Right. He's not afraid of this. The stage that's not a variable because he's not afraid of the stage. He's not afraid of crowds. He's not afraid to perform, right? So, but he's also very witty. He's very, very quick, very savvy on his feet.
I've seen it.
And he, unlike me, and don't get me wrong, because I'll talk around it. He loves the hecklers. He looks for that. He wants that.
I've seen it.
You know me. I'm old. I just want to tell my jokes. I don't want to engage.
I've seen it. And twice, actually.
And so to double back, last night he and I did Sean Medina's 50th birthday party, which was a roast. So they paid us to do that. So again, you've seen my comedy. I do situational first person. I talk about me. I don't talk about you. I don't know you. You know what I mean? And I don't mean you. I mean the audience. I don't know you. I'm here to get you to understand who I am. So I talk about me. I got it. I got them shits. I got them flames if you want them. Yeah. But I'm not here for that. Because again, the craft as I learned it, a heckler is stealing your experience. If you're at the show and you're not the heckler, they're stealing your experience. You're not. You didn't pay money to see that. Yep. You paid money to see the guy on stage or the woman on stage. You know what I mean? Right. Whoever it is, right? But he handles that, and he looks for it, he loves it. So as a host, I think he's going to be able to set the tone early and shut anybody down that could potentially try to lend themselves to the.
In other words, keep your mouth shut.
Keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut. Here's a myth. Let's bust this myth. Yeah. To the person who goes to the comedy club with the intent of being part of the show because you want to go back to work on Monday and say, I was funnier than comedians. You are never funnier than the comedians. You're never. You're not. You're never. And I've been doing this for 10 years, and I've seen it, and every time you are never funnier. Never. Yeah. You're just an annoyance. You're an annoyance.
Yeah, and it's
you usually piss people off more than they entertain them.
Yeah, and it's like if you're that bold, like why don't you like do the work to get to the stage and show and prove?
And that's a whole nother on the porch with my robe shaking my fist like that. That's a whole nother rant because I've had people that had that too. Yo, I'm thinking about getting into comedy. Your next show, give me a. No,
you gotta work.
That's not how any of that works.
That goes for anything. Not even just comedy.
Right. That's not life. That's life, right?
I've been DJing for 8 years.
Right. I'm thinking about being a surgeon. I heard you was getting your appendix taken out. Absolutely, hell. What? No, that's not how any of this works. You know what I mean? And I had somebody unfriend me behind that. Oh wow. Oh, I see you putting on the white boys before you put on me. Absolutely. You know why? Because the white boys are working and they're funny. Which brings me to Tyler Hittner. He will be here tonight. Tyler Hittner. If you haven't seen Tyler Hittner, I don't want to go into great depth because it's Tyler Hittner, someone you really have to see to understand what I'm talking about. He is not a prop comic, but when I say it's somebody you have to see because he's very unassuming. He comes in a very unassuming package. Right? Okay. Because I know how I say that because I know when I do like a lot of melanin deficient rooms. Right? When I do a lot of those rooms, and you see how I dress on a day-to-day for the most part. I dress like a '90s rapper, right?
It's the 1998, yeah.
Right, because it was the last time I was cool. So that's how people dress. People dress like the last time they were cool. So think about it. Watch. Next time you watch people, especially if it's somebody you know. If you got an older uncle, think about the era that they're dressed for, and then talk with them, and then let them tell the story about when they were the shit. It'll go right back to the era. I guarantee you.
I love listening to old players.
So I'm no different. That's cool. But when I go to do these rooms and they announce me, give it up for Bad Lad, I don't never get a welcoming clap. I don't get like a well, like I'm here for comedy. All right, Bad Lad, let's go, because they see the costume and the name, and the package says one thing, and then I open my mouth and I talk about things the person normally dressed like this doesn't talk about, and then I leave up out of there with fans. Right? That's what's going to happen with Tyler Hitler tonight.
Okay.
Tyler's going to walk on this stage, and it's not just because he's the white comic on the list. It's because what you'll see and what you'll hear bang up in such a fucking magnificent, controlled chaos that it's just going to be so fun to watch. Right?
All right.
Lisa J is new. Lisa J is fairly new to. She is still counting her shows, which I find adorable. So she is fairly new to comedy, and she did. She opened. She was on the first show I ever did with her was the I Love Kachupa comedy show, which is Anthony Mr. Kuze Smith, his brand.
Yeah, we had him on the show.
Okay.
Like, about a month ago.
Right. So he had put her on, and she's got the raw talent. And she wants to do this. So she actually scribes jokes. A lot of comics that I work with like to go off the cuff. I'm not really here for it because they confuse crowd work with actual stage time. And crowd work, and don't get me wrong, I'm not throwing shade or trying to devalue crowd work, because if you can do it, it is an art, and it is something that should be respected and honored and, spoke upon. But it is not actual time. In the business, when a promoter or someone that's booking you is asking you, how much time do you have? They're not talking about crowd work. They're talking about actual scripted jokes. So when the term is tight. I got a tight 10, I got a tight 20. And that means that's a guarantee that all you'll hear from me is jokes. And they know the difference between crowd work, cracking, and actual jokes. You know what I mean? When you're worth that weight. So for me, certain artists, certain comedians are only going to go so far. They're only going to be able to do certain rooms, and they're going to hit a ceiling because they're confusing the two. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I'm headlining tonight, but I'm not a headliner. I'm not. And don't get me wrong, because we're still gonna have fun. I'm gonna do at least a half hour. I've got 15. I've got a tight 15. I've got 15 minutes of actual jokes for sure, and 15 minutes worth of good jokes that I've learned that play in different settings. Yeah. Right? A diverse setting. How about that? Diverse settings. And for the most part, I don't talk about people. I don't talk about people. It has nothing to do with them personally, but as a black comic, we're stereotyped that way.
Yeah.
And Godfrey and Ali Sadiq, it was on Godfrey's podcast, and they got into it. And Godfrey made this very enlightening observation that the generation of comics, black comics, what they have to go on is Def Comedy Jam. That's their historical text. I was lucky enough to have Red Fox, Richard Pryor, but they share the stage with the Richard Belzers and the George Collins, so it exposed me to everybody. Def Jam and don't get me wrong, I love what it did, but it made the next generation of comics look strictly at Def Jam and look at this composite way of doing comedy and speaking from the black experience. And we know as black people that the black experience isn't one note. Right. There's so much more to us. Right. You know what I mean? So I grab as a fan of comedy, right? Not even as a comedian, as a fan of comedy, I gravitate to people like Langston Kermit. You know what I mean? Jasper Red. Like, these are the black comics I identify with. Ali Sadiq, the ones, these master craftsmen that do more than go on stage and go, oh, look at your shirt. Oh, look at your head. and I don't try to convey it to the people in my response, but it insults me when somebody goes, I'm gonna come to your show, but don't crack on me. That's not all I do. I'm a fucking comedian. Like, I tell jokes. I actually, like, I'm a lazy dude by and large, right? But the things I'm passionate about, I really give sweat equity to. And, like, writing, even as a rapper, that shit, when Jay's method of how he writes, that ain't no groundbreaking shit. It's fucking laziness. And I know because I did it and I do it. When I write a rhyme, I don't want to do the physical labor of picking up a pen and moving my arm. I don't. I'm fucking lazy. I'd rather spend the day, right, by myself, running errands, in my car, with whatever beat I'm doing a track for. And I just do exactly what he does. Write 2 bars in my head, say them out loud. After I got them 2 bars etched out in how I want them, I think of my next 2 bars. And then once I got them next 2 bars, I go back. I say the first 2 out loud and the next 2. And now that when I got them straight, I go to my next 2. And by the time I got 16, I know my shit cold. So when I go in the booth, I'm not reading from anything, and I know it in a way where now I can evoke emotion and really give depth to the bars. Same thing with this comedy shit. Repetitive nature. I say this shit over and over ad nauseum, so when I go on stage, yeah, it looks easy. That's the art of it. That is the art of it. People think, oh, all you do is. If that's how I read, I'll take the compliment. If I'm making it look that easy to say all you do is, thank you. So, like, every one of these artists that you're gonna see tonight, whether in the beginning stages, their maturation, or they're at a plane where they're on their shit, you're gonna see them apply that dynamic, right? That they respect the craft, they really enjoy hearing laughter based on the things that came from here. Not the cheap, look at your sneakers, none of that cheap out shit. Don't get me wrong, you are going to get that from Black Sabbath tonight. That is, but it serves a purpose. Right. As a host, it serves a purpose because it lets you know the fuck shit ain't happening tonight. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, right? Because I also feel like there's 2 types of crowds. There's a make me laugh crowd, and there's a come to laugh crowd. As comics, you always want the former. The latter's always work. Always work. When they come to laugh, it's always fucking fun. It's always fun. When they make me laugh, I pay $20, you better be funny. Now it's pulling teeth, and at best it's yeah.
What else?
Next joke, right? What else you got? It's like, fuck, bro. When you got the former, you can do what they call sitting on laughs, and allow them long laughs. You can sit there and sip your cup, man. Enjoy it, because it's the few times as a comic you really get to enjoy it, because you have to be in this moment of. So, at least for me, when I go up there, I have what I consider a gauger joke. It's the joke I always start with, and it allows me to know what kind of night I'm in for. Yeah. If they fuck with the first joke, we're gonna have a good time. Yeah. If they hem and haw, I got work to do. Okay. But the trick is for you not to know I'm thinking that, right? If you don't laugh at something, and I got to rework which way I go. The trick is for me to keep doing this and keep words flowing out my mouth without you knowing that train wreck's getting figured out up here. These like, yeah, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
no different than you out there trying to read a room and you try not to look like you're panicking to find the next song to get them back on the floor. But meanwhile, you're like, fuck, dang, I done played 4 different genres of shit. They don't want to hear none of it. Like, what's left? What am I? But the whole time, you just look focused and not nervous, right? But that's a skill. That is a skill that comes with competitive repetition, and that's what I try to convey in that shit. So that shit is hard, but it's so much fucking fun. It's like it's the golf swing, right? It's playing golf. When you finally make a good swing and you hit it and it goes far and you're like, I want to do that shit again.
Yeah.
And that's what comedy is, man. You make that laugh, bro. Woo. It's a drug. It's a hell of a drug, bro. But I was also told by the OGs, and my OGs, my comedy mentors, are all younger than me. Because I started when I was 43.
Oh.
They're all younger than me. But it doesn't mean they're not my mentors. They've been in the game longer.
Right.
So it's not about age, it's about time served in your craft. And I've learned a lot of good gems from these folks, and one of them is they told me, always remember, whether you die on stage or kill on stage, there's always another show. And it's a great way to check you. Because if you do terrible, don't worry, it's always the next show. If you kill them and get fucking cocky, it's always the next show. So it's a good checks and balance. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's something I always tell out loud. I always say to myself and remind myself, like, keep it together. You know what I mean? Because lately, I've been winning. Like everywhere I've been going, I've been leaving bodies in the wake. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but I always go, there's always another. I always remind myself of Slade's. And shout out to Jonathan Gates. He does Slade's comedy show every Wednesday and sells it out. That's a fucking feat in itself. Yeah. Black folks meeting for comedy on a Wednesday, right? Nobody's coming to fuck out on Wednesday, but he sells it out, right? I've been there 3 times. I am 0 for 3. I mean, I failed miserably. Wow. Like, but I learned at Slade's how loud silence can be.
I want to go to Slade's.
I'd rather you, boo. I'd rather you tell me I was horrible. They just said nothing.
Like,
nothing. Like, ooh. And the second time I went, I said, all right, I'm gonna get into my last joke. They clapped.
Oh shit!
I'm super bad, bro. You know what I mean? But I learned after the 3rd time. So the 3rd time I went there, I was there on the Wednesday. The following day I was at Mohegan, and the day after I was at Comedy Connection, right? And I did 15 at Slade's, I did 10 at Mohegan Sun, I did 12 at Comedy Connection, which means I basically did the same set.
Yeah.
I just took certain little jokes out of a lot of my stories to allow for time constraints. That's it. I basically told the same set. And I died a horrible death at Slade's and murdered at the other 2 spots. So it was just, some rooms just aren't your room. Yeah. And it's cool. But it's also something that OG told me was, in those moments, it's when you find out it's in those moments when you find out whether or not you really want to do comedy. It's not when you kill them, it's when you die. And you go, and I died, and I was like, I gotta get back. Yep. I gotta get back to the spot. Nah, fuck that. I gotta get that. And the second time I lost, I was like, nah, I gotta get back. I gotta get him. Like, I'm gonna get him. And the 3rd time I lost, I was like, I'm not going back. I'm good. I'm not funny here, and it's cool. And it's cool. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I gotta get back on the 1s and 2s.
Okay.
Man, Bad Lad, always a pleasure.
Oh man, listen, you guys, man. And like my wife says, you guys let me run my mouth, so I'm always, you guys are my favorite. You guys let me talk my shit, and salute to every and all podcasts that let me come in and talk my shit, but you guys, we touch a lot of topics on stuff that I don't get to talk everywhere else. You know what I mean? Yeah. You guys go there in a non-TMZ way, and that's why I really fuck with y'all.
Indeed.
I appreciate that, but yes, I gotta get back on the 1s and 2s. This mix can only last for so long.
Right.
Yo, we got the rest of Culture Fest coming, man. The comedy show, Bad Lad's comedy show tonight. I mean,
Bad Lad shower first. Got him.
and also too, like while you're here at Culture Fest this weekend, plenty of of awesome local black-owned businesses.
Right.
Come check us out. Rhode Island is the best kept secret in New England.
Please believe it. Please believe it. And to the vendors, if I can just say, not just businesses, but like informational.
Yes.
This is like there's a wide range of vendors, not like that, not just trying to take your money. There's you can learn about some things. You can learn about the culture. You can learn about yourself. Like, be here. Be here. It's only going to get exponentially bigger every year, but if you can get here before the weekend's over, get here.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So on that note, let me get back on the ones and twos. I'll holler at y'all later.
All right. Peace out, nerds.
Later.
Yes, sir.